Hello and welcome to Access Asia. Coming up, India overtaking China this year as the world's most populous country. 1.4 billion people and counting. The population isn't expected to peak for decades to come. We'll take a look at what life is like in India and what lessons a country can learn from China. Well, if it hasn't done so already, India is set to overtake China this year as the world's most populous country. The challenges are numerous, from education to democracy, but also as basic as having enough to eat. Last year, India ranked 107th out of 121 nations on the Global Hunger Index. Catherine Viet has more.
It is an immense challenge that India will have to address in the coming years. How to feed a population which is constantly increasing and which already numbers more than 1.4 billion people. With the same agricultural surface area, will the country be able to ensure its food self-sufficiency? In northern India, these lands are known as the breadbasket of the country. This farmer is smiling because his fields will give him another good harvest this season.
You see all this land here? These are my wheat fields. I produce 1,000 tons here. It's a big production. And the other farms in the region produce as much, if not more, than me.
If these fields are so productive,
agriculture is of the utmost importance.
It's because the country led its green revolution in the 1960s. To put an end to famines, India switched to intensive and mechanized agriculture, dramatically increasing its yields. But to keep producing more and more, India uses chemical fertilizers and pesticides. And most importantly, farmers need to continuously irrigate their land. As a result, the water tables are emptying.
To feed the country, we emptied the water reserves. There won't be any for future generations, and that worries me a lot.
In the name of food security, the country is destroying its environment, while at the same time, hundreds of millions of Indians aren't benefiting from the agricultural production. Famines may have disappeared, but nearly 1 in 5 people are suffering from malnutrition, especially in rural areas. For the past 20 years, this association has been traveling from village to village to identify malnourished children. The team weighed and measured the kids and found, unsurprisingly, that many aren't eating enough.
He weighs 6.3 kilos. He has severe malnutrition.
His big sister Naya is in even worse health. At 5 years old, she weighs barely 5.5 kilos when she should weigh about 18 kilos.
There is no food in their life, only the potato. So real protein is not there, means pulse is not there, soybean is not there, meat is not there, fish is not there, chicken is not there.
Malnutrition in marginalized communities remains one of India's biggest problems. And as the country's population grows, the number of hungry could grow too.
Well, India's population not expected to peak until the year 2050. That's 3 decades from now. For more, let's speak to Poonam Muttreja, Executive Director of Population Foundation of India. Hello, Poonam, and thank you for speaking to us. First question, pretty simple. Is India's population growing out of control?
No, I believe not. In fact, India's population is stabilizing. We have reached replacement level across India and the average for India, but there are regional disparities in India. We've got states which still have high population growth, but those are only 5 in the northern part of India. And you see, India, while the population has become at the replacement level, which means 2 people replace 2 people, 2 children replace 2 parents or grandparents, I want to say that India will continue to grow because we have a rather large young population. We have 660 million young people below the age 29, and we have close to 330 million people at the age of reproduction. But we can do something about that also to do a further decline. But India's real problem is that while we are on the decline, we will add numbers for the next 30, 40 years. But I don't see a population explosion.
Yeah, you touched on it earlier. India has a working age population of around 900 million. That could hit 1 billion over the next decade. Are there enough jobs? Is there enough access to high quality education for that workforce?
So that is our real challenge. To take care of the numbers that we have, we do not have access to education for a large number of people in rural areas, especially higher secondary and college education. But the most important need of India is to skill the people who are already educated while we bring into the education system other who have been left out, and especially girls. We need more girls to be in higher education, and we need to skill them. We need to skill them where they are employable, but also at reasonable wages. Now, you asked about the skills. The skill set is very low. And that's where India needs to work hard.
Poonam, India and China are clearly two very different countries, different governments, different demographics. But are there any lessons that India can learn from China?
So India can learn what not to do more than what to do. And what not to do is to not have a coercive population policy, which will create an imbalance, as China did, one-child policy, and then they moved from 2 to 3. And now they're trying to get people to have babies. You can't reverse, and women are not baby-producing machines. So we've learned from them, and we must stay the course in having a democratic a process where we invest in development and not do coercion, which is possible in an authoritarian regime like China. India doesn't. Being a democracy, it won't work. Second, we need to learn from China that when fertility declines in a society which has son preference, which is patriarchal, and India also has another adverse situation, which is we have a gender bias against females, we must ensure that our sex ratios are maintained. Third thing to learn from China is India needs to learn from China and ensure we do good social security for our aging.
Poonam, thank you so much for your time and your expertise.
Sure.
Poonam Muttreja speaking to us from the Population Foundation of India. Well, the overwhelming majority of Indians live in rural areas. Some cities, like the economic capital of the country, Mumbai, are already saturated. Rents are soaring, wealth gaps are widening between the upper classes and poor residents, especially those living in the slums. This report from our team on the ground.
Mumbai, the economic capital of India, has an estimated population of over 20 million people. Nicknamed the maximum city, its density exceeds 30,000 inhabitants per square kilometer. A sprawling and chaotic city on the verge of asphyxiation. The roads are constantly jammed. City authorities have launched major infrastructure projects to ease the strain. 8 new metro lines are being built, along with a 10-kilometer coastal road. It's a massive project which will cost more than €1 billion and is expected to open by the end of the year.
These are part of the interchanges of the whole Mumbai Coastal Road project, and these interchanges will help people joining and exiting various parts of Mumbai.
Mumbai attracts both Indians and foreigners. But demographic pressure is driving up real estate prices. Homes in middle-class neighborhoods start at around €2,000 per square meter. The lack of space means there are skyscrapers everywhere. This 40th floor apartment costs €4,500 a month to rent.
The rich are getting richer, the poor are maybe I don't know how to put it honestly, but we're seeing that difference, which is there over here.
Almost half of Mumbai's population lives in slums. Brick or sheet metal houses stretch out as far as the eye can see. They are often installed along waterways that now serve as open sewers. Over the decades, waves of migrants have come to Mumbai from rural India in search of a better future. Nasreen is one of them. She arrived here 20 years ago. She lives with her husband and 4 children in a 15 square meter space.
This is my kitchen and my utensils. This is the water container. Our things are there, and that's our bed. And that's the pump we use to get water once a week.
These are illegal structures regularly destroyed by the authorities.
They come when we're not there during the day, and we have to rebuild in the evening with plastic sheets to have a roof.
Plans to rehabilitate Mumbai's 2,400 slums have mostly failed. But there are some success stories. To the south of the city, the Aneshwar's NGO has managed to rehouse 360 families. In exchange for a building permit, the private developer had to find housing for the inhabitants of the slum in the same area, a stone's throw away from the luxury skyscrapers.
क्योंकि private builders जो घर बनाते हैं, उनको पैसे कमाने हैं, और वो पैसे कमाने के लिए जो घर वो बिल्डिंग बनाएंगे, वो तो अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग है ही नहीं है. वो तो आम इंसान गरीब शहर का गरीब आदमी वो खरीद ही नहीं सकता है.
These apartments are rented out for just a few euros per month and have changed the life of this community.
Now we have a janitor, we have our own toilets, the rubbish is collected, we have everything we need.
Mumbai's housing has another serious problem on the horizon. Rising water levels due to climate change threaten to submerge the city by 2050. By then, its population is estimated to reach 30 million people.
That's it for this edition. Thank you for watching, and please stay tuned to France 24.